I'd like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land, the Grigo, Vidigo, and Gadigal people of the Eora Nation, and pay respect to the elders, past, present, and emerging. So we have two solo exhibitions concurrently, one with Jan Cleveringa and the other one with Asher Milgate. So Jan is one of our more recent artists to join our family, Art Atrium family. Although he's shown in a few of our group exhibitions already, especially our end of year group exhibition. So he does quite a range of different works. So I remember the first work that he showed with us is actually an installation. But this exhibition is a different body of work. It's paintings and also works on paper. And to open the show, we have Elizabeth Fortescue, a very well-known writer, art journalist. She was writing for the Daily Telegraph before as an art critic, but now she's actually working for the Film Review, writing about auctions, art auctions. So, and recently she's written a book about Wendy Sharp, which is now available, in the bookshops. So you should go and grab a copy when you get a chance. I'd like you two all to put your hand together to welcome Elizabeth Fortescue.
Thank you all so very much for that, and thanks for the very warm welcome, Simon. I always feel like at this gallery, everybody is very warmly welcomed and accepted, and it's always very nice. Thank you so much, Simon. And a big thank you to Jan for asking me to open this show. I'm really honoured to do that. And as part of that process, last weekend I went out to Jan's place and met him at his home and studio and had the opportunity to see, well, this is actually one of the best things about being a journalist in the art world, that you do get to go and see people's studios and talk to them in a way that I wouldn't have that opportunity if I just said, hi, my name's Elizabeth, can I come to her studio? It gives you that it gives you that opportunity, it gives you that reason for going to speak to artists, and it's something that over the 40 years or so that I've been doing this, I've never taken that for granted. So the last opportunity I had was at Jan's place, and it was great fun, and they gave me lunch as well, which was amazing. And anyway, we did really have a fantastic time, and it gave me the opportunity to see the work before it came here, and to get some feeling for Jan as an artist and what he's been doing and what his interests are. And I always find with artists, as I did last week at Jan's place, that I always learn something from artists. They always teach you something slightly unusual. And this weekend it was about trees, and taught me a lot of things about trees that I didn't know. And I'm a nature lover, I'm sure everybody here would be too. Art lovers tend to be nature lovers as well. And so this exhibition is called Listening to Trees. And it's a very good title because that's exactly what these works are about. And it's really interesting the way that Jan thought about them, and very interesting his process in making them as well. So this weekend, or yesterday, we all heard about a thing called the blue screen of death. Yes, everybody's nodding. There was a big outage on the World Wide Web, and we all couldn't, or some people couldn't buy their groceries, some people couldn't get their money out of the ATM, and some people couldn't get their computers to work. Fine, we've all heard of that, but have you heard of the Wood Wide Web? Now, I hadn't heard of that, and that's what Jan was telling me all about last weekend, and it was absolutely fascinating. If you haven't heard of the Wood Wide Web, you can actually find it online. But Jan was telling me about how in nature, when trees are growing in proximity to each other, they can actually communicate under the ground via a sort of fungal process whereby the fungus grows on their roots and into the ground, and through that underground network, trees can speak to each other, help each other, feel how each other is doing, give nutrients to a tree that's not doing so well, and even warn trees of things like attack by bugs. I'm being attacked by bugs, you better put out a bit more anti-bug stuff in your system. Sorry. And anyway, you know what I'm saying. And so that was quite fascinating, and I did get home and look it up, and I see that it is a somewhat controversial thing, the Wood Wide Web, but what isn't? Like, right, everything in science is controversial. It seems like scientists always like to be controversial. So that's fine. So the mother tree is a concept which is part of this Wood Wide Web, whereby in a forest situation there'll be a very large tree called the mother tree. Now, you shouldn't chop that one down, because if you chop that one down, then it will not be able to rejuvenate, nurture, bring back to life the rest of the forest. And of course, as we all know, we're happily chopping down the Earth's, Amazon basin and all of that sort of thing. I think what Jan is trying to say is we should take cognizance of this, we should acknowledge that this is happening, we should learn more about our environment. And he did tell me that that was very central to his concern as an artist. He said, if I'm going to be an artist, I want it to be for a really good cause. The closest thing I've ever seen to Jan's, before I tell you about Jan's process, the closest thing I've ever heard to it is the great Australian artist John Woolsey, who I'm sure a lot of you will have heard about. John Woolsey has created in the past works which he allows nature to collaborate with him on. So he'll take a very robust piece of paper and go into the wilderness and leave it there and allow it to travel across the tops of plants, which have been quite oftentimes burnt in bushfires and things. So you get that beautiful sweep of a piece of paper across the charcoal of the trees. And not content with that, he'll then walk away and leave it there and come back sometimes weeks later. And by then, of course, it would have rained, it would have been hot, it would have been cold, it would have been dewy, and the paper is sometimes formed again into a shape. And he calls these things ventifacts. Vent meaning wind, of course, and fact, artifact, so an artifact of the wind. It's such a poetic and beautiful thing, and I think that, to me, I hope Jan won't mind me saying that, it's a somewhat similar process or way of thinking, that you would collaborate with nature, that you wouldn't seek to assert yourself on nature, that you would actually work alongside nature. I think Jan has really done that. And when I tell you, which I will now, how he makes those works, or give you a bit of an insight, should I say, which he was kind enough to give me, then I think you'll understand. So when Jan goes into nature, he'll go into a national park, and he'll carry with him gallons upon gallons of paints, and find a space under the trees, and then actually hang up bags of pigment, hang up bags of paint, and with the wind blowing, the paint will drip onto the board and create these patterns of nature. And he doesn't seek to interfere in that at all. So if, for instance, it's a quiet day, then obviously you'll get a bigger puddle of paint. If it's a windy day like today, I imagine that the paint bag would swing around a lot and create very different patterns. And oftentimes you'll get a little leaf that will have come down. It hasn't actually settled there. Jan would have taken that home and dipped it in paint and then adhered it later. So not content to do that though, he describes this as pixelating the work. So he would take the board or boards and cut them into these beautiful pieces and rearrange them into this pixelated thing, which he describes as disrupting or breaking the communication in the way that we as humans have broken our communication with the natural world and reassembled it. That's a kind of a message to us that we've reassembled, that we've broken our connection. I hope I'm getting this right, Jan, but I took this away. And the other person that Jan said that he's very influenced by, and this won't shock you at all, is Rosalie Gascoigne, who I'm sure a lot of you will know her fantastic work that she did with cut-up road signs and things like that. She's passed away now, but her work is really beautiful and very much valued. And a person I'd like to mention is somebody that Jan mentioned to me, Abbas Macrab, who is a Western Sydney Iraqi-born artist who taught him how to do mosaic. And I think this, you can see the influence here, very much so. One thing I always like to do is transcribe my interviews with artists very carefully and keep them. And so I thought you might like to enjoy a couple of direct quotes from Jan on that day that I went out to see. Embarrassing. They're really lovely quotes. He says, I'm trying to share that idea that there's more going on with these trees, that they're not separate to us. Another one was, the process is the art, the going out and doing it. The core concept is collaboration. We're not separate from trees. And in speaking about the process of cutting the boards into those small pieces, the works are a symbol of the human condition and how we look at the environment. I've disrupted the communication and our relationship to the forest. And very finally, I love this one. He says he believes that he partners with nature. He says it's capturing time, it's a communication. I think you can really see that here. So with that, congratulations, Jan. The work is absolutely beautiful. The show is beautiful. And thank you so much for asking me. And thank you all for coming. Thank you.
Thank you, Elizabeth. We all learned a little bit about the Wood Wide Web. So I think it's time for Jan to say a few things about this current series of work.
Thanks, Simon. Thank you very much. Probably got stage fright. What I would just like to say is thank you to everybody who's come today. It's a great turnout for both of us. I'd also just like to say it's all been mentioned pretty much. There are deeper levels to the work. Some information over there if you're interested. But what I would just like to say as I hand it over, because I don't want to make this too long, is that when you look at the drawings, the wind and myself and the trees have made those drawings from dangling inks on strings, etc. But in there what you will see is something like heavier dots and bigger dots, and that itself shows time. And when the wind is blown, the medium to different places. And if you look at the picture over there, the last blue cream picture painting, that is actually an enlargement of that, and I see that as nodes in music or crotchets in music or a hieroglyph, and from that it's probably enlarged 10,000 times from about a couple of centimetres, and that in itself sort of describes that there is more going on here. And if anyone's into a little bit of behind the scenes matrix stuff, if you have an Archie sequence and other things in nature, and if you know that sort of deeper level of things, to me that's a conversation. That's all I need to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Jan. So if anyone is interested to be part of the collaboration between Jan and the trees, you should come and see me. Thank you. We're going to have an exhibition, the other exhibition opening on the other side in a minute.